Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Anger Management for Dummies, 2nd edition, by Laura L. Smith, Ph.D., and Charles H. Elliott. Narrated by Derek Shoales. Limit of liability and disclaimer of warranty. The contents of this work are intended to further general scientific research, understanding, and discussion only, and are not intended and should not be relied upon as recommending or promoting a specific method, diagnosis, or treatment by physicians for any particular patient. The publisher and the author make no representations or warranties with respect to the accuracy or completeness of the contents of this work, and specifically disclaim all warranties, including without limitation any implied warranties of fitness for a particular purpose. In view of ongoing research, equipment modifications, changes in governmental regulations, and the constant flow of information, the reader is urged to review and evaluate the information provided in the package insert or instructions for each medicine, equipment, or device for, among other things, any changes in the instructions or indication of usage and for added warnings and precautions. Readers should consult with a specialist where appropriate. Neither the publisher nor the author shall be liable for any damages arising herefrom. Introduction. Anger is part of life, no less than memory, happiness, and compassion. Anger says more about you, your temperament, how you view the world, how balanced your life is, and how easily you forgive others, than it does about other people. You don't have to be a victim of your own anger. You can actually choose how you respond when the world doesn't treat you the way you want it to. In fact, you have just as much choice about how you express your anger as you do about what color shirt you wear, what you eat for breakfast, or what time you go jogging this afternoon. Although it often feels like you don't have a choice about feeling angry, you do. You also have a choice about how much of yesterday's anger you carry into the future, and how much anger you're likely to experience tomorrow. No one is exempt from problematic anger. Anger is a very democratic emotion. It causes problems for men and women, kids and the elderly, rich and poor, educated and uneducated, people of all colors and ethnic backgrounds, believers and non-believers. Tens of millions of human beings needlessly suffer from excessive anger. Anger that literally poisons your life, each and every day of their lives. Anger isn't something that can or should be cured, but you have to manage it well. At home, at work, and in your most intimate relationships, if you want to benefit from it. Anger Management for Dummies 2nd edition tells you how to manage your anger by focusing on the positive, how to get a good night's sleep, how to change your perspective on life, why carefully controlled expression of anger is better for you than venting, how to transform conflicts into challenges, and much more. Anger management has moved far beyond the simplistic, albeit well-intentioned, advice of years past to count to 10 or take a couple of deep breaths every time you get angry, and that's good news. About this book. How do you know when you have too much anger? Do you determine that for yourself, or do you let other people make that call? If you're not physically aggressive, physically hurting other people or poking holes in walls, does that mean you're not angry? Does it really help to vent, to get things off your chest, or are you better off keeping your mouth shut to keep the peace? Can angry people really change, or do they have to go through life suffering because that's just the way they are? And what should you do if you're on the wrong end of someone else's anger? These are all important questions that Anger Management for Dummies, 2nd edition, answers for you. When we wrote this book, we had 4 basic goals in mind. We wanted to show you that anger is more than a 4-letter word. It's an extremely complex emotion that has meaning well beyond the crude and hurtful words people use to express it. We wanted to illustrate all the various ways that anger can and does adversely affect your life when it occurs too frequently and is too intense. We wanted to show you that managing anger is something that is entirely within your power, if you're willing to make the necessary lifestyle changes outlined in this book, changes in thinking, behaviors, communication, and habits. We wanted to give you an array of specific skills for managing difficult situations without excessive anger. You may want to focus on the area in which you have the most trouble controlling your temper, at work, for example. Or you may want to head straight for a chapter on jump-starting anger management. We're not even going to suggest that you read the whole book. That's up to you. Be like our golden doodle and go where your nose, or in this case your eyes, lead you. You'll get where you need to be. Note: sidebars in this book contain interesting information, but they aren't essential reading. If you're someone who likes to cut to the chase, go ahead and skip the sidebars. Foolish assumptions. We made a few assumptions about you when we wrote this book. You may or may not have a problem with anger, but if you don't have a problem with anger yourself, you know or love someone who does. If you didn't buy this book for yourself, you bought it for your husband, wife, brother, sister, son, daughter, father, mother, friend, or co-worker, or one of those people bought it for you. You don't want to know everything there is to know about anger. You just want to know what you need to know to manage anger effectively. Scientists have studied anger for years, but you won't find a bunch of scientific mumbo-jumbo in this book. We focus on proven strategies to help you manage your anger, and that's it. Icons used in this book. Icons are those little pictures in the margins throughout this book, and they're there to draw your attention to certain kinds of information. You'll hear the icons verbalized in the audio edition of this book. Remember. This icon alerts you to important ideas and concepts that you'll want to remember and that you can use even when you don't have Anger Management for Dummies 2nd edition in hand. Technical stuff. Every once in a while, there's an interesting bit of information that we share with you. You can read these paragraphs if you want, but the information they contain isn't essential to your understanding of the topic at hand. Tip. The tip icon suggests practical how-to strategies for managing anger. Warning. This icon appears when we think a cautionary note is in order or when you need to seek professional help. Beyond the book. In addition to the material in the print or ebook you're reading right now, Anger Management for Dummies 2nd edition also comes with some Access Anywhere goodies on the web. No matter how much you gain from what you read, check out the free cheat sheet for additional ideas and tools. Go to dummies.com/cheat sheet/anger management for 10 ways to cool down. Tips for expressing yourself assertively rather than aggressively. Anger do's and don'ts. Keeping your cool at work. We also provide 6 concise online articles associated with parts 2 through 7. Those articles give you interesting ideas for how to think about and handle anger. Check them out at dummies.com/extras/anger management. Tip. Consider printing the cheat sheet and other online articles and posting them on your bulletin board, cubicle wall, or refrigerator for a quick reference to anger management strategies. Where to go from here. You don't have to read this book from start to finish. That is, you don't have to read the whole book from chapter 1 through the end to benefit from it. Each part and chapter is meant to stand alone in its discussion of anger management. Feel free to choose a topic that interests you and dive in. Warning. Whether you read Anger Management for Dummies 2nd edition in its entirety or not, if you still find that you're struggling with anger, we suggest you seriously consider getting the help of a professional. Anger management is a niche market, and you need to find someone who is both a licensed professional and has credentials. For example, PhD, MD, MSW, MA, and expertise in this area. Tip. Even if you benefit from this book, many people find that anger management classes help too. You get the extra benefit of having other people share their stories and hear yours. Class members usually give useful feedback to each other as well. Part 1. Getting Started with Anger Management. Web Extras. Visit dummies.com for great For Dummies content online. In this part, get familiar with the emotion called anger and the nature of anger's physical sensations, thoughts, and feelings. Discover your anger triggers and figure out when anger most likely occurs in your life. Understand how your individual anger pattern plays out. Decide whether you truly want to change the way you manage anger. See both the costs and benefits of changing or not. Yes, there are costs. Then explore the stages of change. Determine which stage you're in and find out what to expect. Chapter 1. Understanding Anger. In this chapter, identifying anger and where it comes from, examining the myths about anger, understanding how emotions work, finding help when you need it. What do children from Bogota, Colombia, college students in Oxford, England, corporate executives in New York City, mothers from India, and pre-literate tribesmen in Borneo and New Guinea have in common? They all recognize an angry face when they see it. Anger, as well as joy, fear, sadness, disgust, contempt, and surprise are universal emotions. All cultures around the globe experience these emotions as an integral part of day-to-day life, and these emotions can lead to both blessings and curses. Remember, anger forms part of the survival mechanism of human beings. When faced with a threat, not unlike other animals, humans either run away, freeze, or attack. Anger fuels attacks. Angry people experience a surge of energy that helps them repel adversaries. But anger can also have the opposite effect and lead to an untimely demise. Too much anger can cause heart attacks, precipitate disabling work injuries, ruin relationships, and lead to a variety of unintended negative consequences. Anger truly is a double-edged sword. Defining anger. If you're like most people, you know what anger is, or at least you think you do. For example, maybe your gut tells you that a friend of yours feels angry. So you ask him if indeed he feels angry, and he responds, "No, not at all." Of course, your gut could be wrong, and your friend really isn't angry. But usually your intuition will serve you well in such instances. You can tell by your friend's tone of voice, posture, and body language. Anger is an emotion that involves certain types of thoughts that focus on other people's intent to hurt you, unfairness, threats to your self-esteem, and frustrations. Anger expresses itself in the body, for example, muscle tension, loud voice, and restlessness, and behaviors such as threatening actions, pacing, and clenching. Anger is a strong emotion that attempts to express displeasure and disapproval. Finding the key to anger management. As the reader, we know you'd like a simple answer to the question, why am I so angry, and what's the single most effective thing I can do about it? You're hoping that one chapter in this book will provide that answer. But, alas, that's not the way it works. Anger is a complex human emotion. By reading this book, you can come to understand where your anger comes from. That is, which and how many of those factors that are unique to you are at work here. It may be that you need better coping skills, to cut down on drinking, to increase your social outlets, to increase your sense of purpose and meaning in life, or to look for a new job. A few of these items, all of them, one of them, or perhaps more, may cause problems that result in your anger. The important thing at this point is to find the right recipe for your anger management and to use the information and resources in this book to bring your emotional life to a better place. Anger really is about choices and perceptions. Humans are the only animals we know of that have a choice about how they view the world. Cats, dogs, squirrels, hamsters, goldfish, they're all creatures of instinct, which means they respond in predictable ways that are pre-wired into their nervous systems. Instincts are universal. Scratch a golden doodle's tummy and he'll instantly begin shaking his hind leg. All golden doodles do it, and they don't have a choice in the matter. Remember, the miraculous thing about being human is that you're not ruled by instinct. Not only do you have choices about how you respond to the world around you, for example, when someone mistreats you, but even before that, you also have a choice about how you perceive or think about that person's actions. Do you think she did that on purpose? Was it an accident, or did he do it deliberately? Is the mistreatment specifically directed at you alone? Do you view this as a catastrophe? A life-altering event? Is this something that you think shouldn't have happened? These questions are all ones your mind considers, albeit unconsciously, before you have a chance to react, or better yet, respond to provocation. Consider the following. You might say that Mike is a born pessimist, but actually that's not true. Human beings aren't born with attitudes. Those attitudes come from life experience. What is true is that Mike is the product of an alcoholic home, where things could be going well one minute and fall into complete chaos the next. He found out as a child not to expect the good times to last, and that he and the rest of his family were always just one beer away from a family crisis. So for all his adult life, Mike has expected that most things will eventually turn out badly, given enough time. No matter how loving his wife is, or how cooperative his children are, in the back of his mind he harbors this expectation that any minute things will change for the worse, and he's ready to react in anger when that moment comes. Why will he get angry? It's Mike's way of defending himself against chaos, a way of feeling in control. Unlike when he was a child hiding under the bed while his alcoholic father ranted and raved well into the night. Mike is unaware of how his early childhood influenced his view of the world. Like most children of alcoholics, he figures that because he survived those unpleasant years, physically at least, he's okay. He also has no clue why he loses his temper so easily. Tip: many people with anger problems have troubled childhoods. Their anger during childhood usually made sense at the time as a way of coping with the difficulties they faced. However, they bring their anger into the present when it usually doesn't work very well. You can acquire new, more effective ways of coping, but it takes patience and work. Dispelling common anger myths. Before you can manage your own anger, you need to be aware of what anger is and isn't. Unfortunately, myths about anger abound. Here are some of the myths we want to dispel right from the get-go. If you don't express anger, you just might explode. The truth is, the more often you express anger, the more likely you will feel angry in the future. On the other hand, appropriately, carefully expressed anger can help you. So keep reading. Males are angrier than females. If by angrier you mean how often people experience anger, it's simply not true that men are angrier than women. Surveys show that women get mad about as frequently as men. Men and women may express anger a little differently, but research has been inconsistent on that issue. Anger is bad. Anger serves a variety of positive purposes when it comes to coping with stress. When controlled, it can energize you, improve your communication with other people, and defend you against fear and insecurity. Anger is good. When it leads to domestic violence, property damage, sexual abuse, drug addiction, ulcers, and self-mutilation, anger is definitely not good. Anger is only a problem when you openly express it. Many angry people either suppress their anger, "I don't want to talk about it," or repress their anger, "I'm not angry at all, really." People who express their anger are the squeaky wheels who get everyone's attention. People who repress or suppress their anger need anger management just as much. See Chapter 3 for more information about the costs of anger. The older you get, the more irritable you are. It's the other way around. As people age, they report fewer negative emotions and greater emotional control. People, like wine and cheese, do tend to improve with age. Anger is all in the mind. When you get mad, that emotion instantly manifests itself in muscles throughout your entire body. The hairs on the back of your neck, your blood pressure, your blood sugar levels, your heart rate, your respiration rate, your gut, even your finger temperature. It warms up, long before you're fully aware of what's happening. Anger is all about getting even. The most common motive behind anger has been shown to be a desire to assert authority or independence, or to improve one's image, not necessarily to cause harm. Revenge is a secondary motive. A third motive involves letting off steam over accumulated frustrations, again, with no apparent intent to harm anyone else. If you don't express anger, you'll be seen as weak. Not so. In fact, a calm, measured, assertive response, see Chapter 8 for more information about assertiveness, not only works better, but also is quite powerful. People with anger problems have low self-esteem. In fact, sometimes they do. However, a much more common companion of anger is excessively inflated self-esteem. See Chapter 7 for more information about the role of self-esteem in anger. Only certain types of people have a problem with anger. You can easily find angry truck drivers, college professors, physicians, grandmothers, lawyers, policemen, career criminals, poor people, millionaires, children, the elderly, and people of various ethnicities, nationalities, and religions. Anger is a universal emotion. Anger results from human conflict. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. People get angry by being exposed to foul odors, negotiating traffic jams, aches and pains, computer problems, and hot temperatures, none of which involve, or can be blamed on, the direct, intentional actions of others. Understanding the role of emotions in your life. Emotion can be thought of as a compound word. The E stands for energy, and the motion means exactly what it says: movement. Emotions move you to act in ways that defend you from threat, lead to social attachments and procreation, cause you to engage in pleasurable pursuits, encourage you to reattach after some type of meaningful loss, and push you to explore your environment. Without emotion, life would stand still. Remember, emotions are, by their very nature, meant to be brief, transient experiences. Typically, they come and go throughout the day, moving you in various directions as evidenced by changes in your behavior. Not acting on an emotion like anger is unnatural and, in some instances, can be unhealthy. Emotions reflect changes in physiology, elevations in blood pressure, heart rate, blood sugar, and muscle tension that are usually harmless because they're short-lived. That is, if you express them in a reasonable way. Emotions that aren't expressed remain trapped within your body, causing a sustained state of physiological tension, and that can be deadly. Suggesting that anger is either expressed or unexpressed is actually untrue. All anger is expressed. The question is how. You probably think that you're expressing your anger when you do so in a way that other people can see, hear, or feel. Otherwise, you figure you're not expressing it. But the reality is that all anger is expressed, some of it in ways that aren't observable right away. For example, you may not look or sound angry, but your anger may be expressing itself in your cardiovascular system through high blood pressure or migraine headaches, your gastrointestinal system through irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, or a spastic colon, or your musculoskeletal system through TMJ or tension headaches. Or anger may express itself in negative attitudes, pessimism, cynicism, hopelessness, bitterness, and stubbornness, or some form of avoidance behavior, giving people the silent treatment, oppositional behavior, I don't think so, or passive-aggressive behavior. I'm sorry, did you want something? Anger may also sour your mood and leave you feeling down or depressed. You suddenly lose the enthusiasm you had previously. Dr. Paul Ekman developed a list of 7 primary emotions seen in all cultures around the world. The following lists these emotions and some of the ways they express themselves. The 7 primary emotions. Sad. The eyelids droop, corners of mouth turn down. People withdraw from others. Thoughts focus on negative, pessimistic issues, losses, and inferior self-views. Body temperature rises, and heart rate increases. Joy. Corners of the eyes wrinkle, smiles and corners of the mouth turn up. Thoughts dwell on positive enjoyment. Laughter. Surprise. Eyes widen and become rounder. The mouth opens. Expression occurs and recedes rapidly in response to an unexpected event. Thoughts focus on the unexpected aspects of what occurred and why. Disgust. The nose wrinkles, the upper lip curls, also a rapid response to something that looks, smells, or tastes unpleasant. Thoughts focus on avoiding or removing oneself from the disgusting object. Contempt. The muscles in the cheek pull back, which results in a half smile or sneer. The head often tilts a bit back. Thoughts focus on the inferiority of others. Fear. The eyes open wide, lips stretch out, heart rate increases, body temperature drops. Thoughts dwell on how to deal with danger, whether to fight, flee, or freeze. Posture slumps. Anger. The eyes glare and narrow, lips press together. Body temperature and heart rate increase. Posture puffs up. Thoughts focus on issues such as unfairness, revenge, injustice, attacking, and getting even. Alexithymics. People without feelings. Alexithymia is a word used to describe people who appear to lack emotions, including anger. Alexithymia is thought to be a fairly stable personality trait, but isn't a formal, psychological diagnosis in and of itself. Alexithymics tend to have difficulty identifying different types of feelings, appear stiff and wooden in relating to others, lack emotional awareness, lack enjoyment, have trouble distinguishing between emotions and bodily feelings, appear overly logical when it comes to decision-making, lack sympathy for others, appear perplexed by other people's emotions, be unmoved by art, literature, and music, have few, if any, emotional memories, for example, memories of childhood. We don't suggest disconnecting from your feelings to manage your anger. You want to have emotions, but you want to be in control of those emotions. You want to let anger move you to write a letter to the editor in your local newspaper about some social injustice. You want your anger to move you to stand up for yourself when your talents are being exploited in the workplace. Anger that says to your spouse, "Hey, something is not working here," is good for a marriage. But if your anger only moves you to hurt others, or yourself, then you definitely have a problem. Think of anger as a tool that can help you throughout life if you know how to use it. And think of Anger Management for Dummies as a reference on how to use that tool. Getting the help you need. Remember, everybody needs support. Nobody can go through life completely alone. When you're embarking on a major change in your life, the help of other people is especially important, and managing your anger is a major life change. Support comes in many forms. To manage your anger effectively, you need all the following kinds of support. Carefully selected family and friends. You need people who are behind you 100%. People who know about your problems with anger and are cheering you on as you figure out how to manage it. Warning: don't be too surprised if, at first, you have trouble getting support for your efforts at anger management. Realize that you've probably hurt a lot of people with your anger over the years, and they may have some lingering resentment, fear, and uncertainty. That's natural. But if you're truly committed to managing your anger, chances are they'll eventually rally to your cause. Informational support. You can have the best of intentions, but if you don't have the information you need about anger and how to manage it, you won't get far. Lucky for you, you're holding all the information you need to get a handle on your anger in your hands. Self-help. Most communities have anger management self-help groups and classes. These are usually published in the newspaper and on the internet. Some religious organizations also sponsor such self-help groups. Professional help. People with anger management problems generally don't think of themselves as needing psychotherapy. However, a trained licensed therapist, counselor, psychologist, or psychiatrist usually has important skills that can help you turn away from anger. Therapy can help you identify your personal anger triggers, teach coping skills, and support you through the process. And therapists would gladly work with you on getting the most out of this book as well. Warning: We suggest that you refrain from exploring medications for your anger management.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?